Hello, 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 everyone. How's everyone doing? Mike Arnold here, co-founder of Path Trading Partners, along with Bob Iacchino. Good afternoon, Davey. Good afternoon, Waka Waka. Hey, George spent 3 hours on Saturday finding a pattern between yield curve and the S&P. Then you explain in 30 seconds on the future's edge. Oh, sorry, George. So I did you do you agree with what I said on the future's edge? Hey Patrick, beautiful day. It's been rainy here. Now a cold front coming through. Hey everybody. Hey Kalani. Mike's really been a blessing to those who take his videos seriously. Well, thank you, Connor. Hello, Options 22. Let's start the show. Yes. So, hope everybody a little choppy breakout to the upside and then quick reversal. Again, a lot of this has been triggered by some massive short squeezes. Short squeezes can be good in the short term for up moves, but they're not. They don't make a sustainable market. Yes, I concur with what you presented on Futures Edge. Well, if George concurs, then we are all set to go. By the way, if you don't know what George is talking about, you should tune into the Futures Edge podcast, which is up on YouTube now. And by the way, if you are new here, please do consider subscribing, ringing that bell, and hitting the like button. Longer term subscribers, leave some comments and like the videos. All right. So, as I said, with a little reversal today, the Dow held up pretty well, though. Tomorrow we have the Business Optimism Index at 5 Central, and then we have Red Book at 7:55 minor, Economic Optimism at 9, Consumer Inflation's expectations at 10. These are all going to be very minor things. So remember CPI Wednesday, that's going to be big thing. So tomorrow unless we get some major momentum, I'm geared sort of more towards the choppier side. We might be starting a rollover pattern. Pretty mixed today. Tesla's still up a little. Amazon down. Meta actually up 188 basis points. Financials getting hit. Oil, we got the rebound, a little rebound in crude, like was watching for. Oil bounce back, but there's not a lot to really have major trading with from my perspective here. FOMC, we had some of those numbers from the New York Fed, talk about inflation expectations are waning a bit for the consumer, and so the 75 basis point drop, the consumer's reacting to gas prices mainly. That's what they look at first and foremost. So that's where we're sitting right now. Does anybody know what's going on with Upstart? I peeked in with it. I saw it was a halt. Just wondering about that. If anybody else wants me to look at anything after the close today with earnings, not a lot that I was checking in. I know I was asked about Upstart the other day. That's why I was curious about it. What else we have tomorrow before the open? Again, not a ton of stuff that is gonna be market moving from my perspective. So it's just individual plays. A lot of these earnings plays, though, for the most part, I'd recommend sitting out and then play the after earnings little thing. That's where we sit. Hello, Amadeus. Welcome back. If YouTubers didn't pump Palantir, I don't think anyone would see anything worth investing in. News now on Twitter laying the ground for a 100 basis point move. Okay. I haven't seen that. If we roll over, do you think the SPY will drop to 403 by Wednesday? SPY to 403 by Wednesday? Very, very doubtful. By Wednesday close or Wednesday open? Those are two state. I mean, you got a lot of support to come through, and that would be a massive move. That would be a massive move. That would be a 2.62 pullback if you mean by the close. It could happen if we really start breaking down tomorrow and the market doesn't like the inflation numbers by market open Wednesday. No. It could theoretically, yes, it could happen. I doubt we're going to get a monster sell-off day right before CPI numbers. By the close, if the market did not like the CPI numbers, yes, it's possible being that would be a big drop. But a 300 basis point drop is potential. It still is a potential drop. I mean, we've seen them before. We've seen them before, like this little drop here. That was 2.5. So if we started the move tomorrow and really tested key support, like at least the 410 area, then I would be more willing to see it if the market hated the CPI print. Although the interesting thing is it's shrugging off so much data now, even on a pullback, I'm going to be watching for a re-entry still to the upside, at least until this market sentiment changes. Let's see where we sit. July job reports opens door to possible. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not agreeing with them. I think they're just setting it up. Again, you're going to get the bias, so the 75 will just be baked in by then. I don't think they're going to do 100. I think they'll do more. They're going to do a 75 unless some bad data comes out. Then it would be a 50. I don't see them doing a 100, especially right before the election. Remember, we got elections in November, the midterm elections, and also remember you got the September. Then we don't. The next one is November, right before elections. So you have two right before elections, and I think they're going to try to get a lot of it into the September. So, hey, lots of stock pumps, and then we roll over most of the day with NVIDIA news. I mean, NVIDIA, that guidance was horrible. I went back and looked at it after, because it came on essentially when the live stream was starting. Yes, I saw the gap down. Actually, if you want to know, that guidance is horrible. You're going to see more bad guidance, and this is why at some point we're going to get the next rollover move once the stocks are done with go-go mode. Right now, right off the open, it was gap down. What do you watch for? You want to, and this is on the gap harmonics you see from the close. You watch for the 50 to 62.5 for the rollover move, and then a close above 62.5 for the continuation. Got to the 50 and then rolled over. So that's why I have the levels still updated down here. All right, so that's the key level that's still watching. If we're going to try to still fill the gap, I mean, anything's possible with this, but that was watching for that rollover area than the rollover play. And now I'm more so if we do rally the market, especially after we get back to more of cycles at the bottom for NVIDIA, we'll watch for a potential gap fill play. And then we could have a more significant topping pattern before the next big rollover play. What's Mike? Thanks for your advice. The other day, an upstart buy above 34.50. I sold all my September 40 calls when it couldn't break through to 35 this morning. Tanking after hours. What's it doing now? Because I saw it get halt, and I saw their it looked like their numbers weren't good. Well, there was I had one alarm trigger. Let me remove this one. And then we had that reverse, could not sustain above that. Now it's going to fill the gap. So that's over. And this looks like it's going to turn into a triple bottom now. And also remember, it's still, you're against the rotation zone. So that one couldn't get the juice going. That one couldn't get the juice like all the others. Look, even your juicing stocks are in the follow through from Friday. Like AMC couldn't get the daily close above the 62.5, or a nice little reversal, but tried to juice it higher there. GME, again, these aren't sustainable moves. They're just short-term short squeezes. So remove some of this. These were the juice stocks. I mean, these things are just ridiculous, but that's the mode we're back into. Let's just get through some of this. Little run up on the open, then topping pattern right here. Yes, it was valid. Above the 75. broke down, and it was reversing this move right here with the conservative targets. So, and then it just kept going. So what am I keeping an eye on right now? We're getting to that flat rotation zone overnight now. 41.32, we break below that. 41.06, and then 40.89 to the upside. It now has to reprove itself back above 41.63, but I would imagine we will probably see, if I had to bet, would be a choppier day tomorrow. A choppier day tomorrow. So that's really the key stuff. And the overall picture, remember, you got to keep the overall picture. Even with a pullback tomorrow, you have a lot of support in here between this 41.07 to even 40.77. You have a lot of support in here. So could we see easily a retest of some of these key areas tomorrow? Yeah. But that would then set us up going into CPI and Friday. Cycles pretty much now flattening out in the middle, but weekly trying to still roll over. This rollover, though, is even with this move, I'm still watching for these key levels lower. I mean, you can hear my stuff in the Futures Ed podcast. It hasn't changed since that recording. The NASDAQ, finally, the daily cycle's rolling over. Weekly still pinned at the top. Key support area for the NASDAQ right now. Going to bump this down. The area I'm watching is 31.81, then this 13.90 level. Those are the two to the downside. To the upside, it's still, you're into a clear path move. So depending on the overnight price action, it could be watching that tomorrow morning. That's really it. But beyond that, these levels, this is just a mess in the NASDAQ right now. The level I'll be watching is right around here. This emotional candle closed right there with this prior support ledge, about 13,251. So it's got to get above 13,251 before I get really interested in that clear path. Again, 13,090. And then that's a pretty significant breakdown level. If we did break below that level, then I'm watching. The next key level I'm keying off is this 12,990. Then below that, it's right at this support ledge, 12,831. And we'd finally then get the corrective play back into the daily rotation zone. Dow, still an up close on it, rejected from, it did hit that 87.5. Hold on one second. We got that 87.5, so that statistically worked again with the close above the 62.5. Targeting the 87.5, and then the reversal. We had that little cluster there. At this point now, I can reverse. What was reverse? So again, from these moves, I'm just pointing out something. I can't get super bearish until we get below about 30,924. I can start getting moderately bearish if you start really breaking down below about 31,750 area. But we have a lot of support still coming on here, even with a CPI sell-off. Russell finally smacking into that cluster, and the little short-term reversal also in there. And Russell's actually being bought like we are at a substantial market bottom, which, again, I don't have the stats showing it yet, but the Russell's still the major support now is back at 1921. And the next level, if we break through today's high, isn't until 1989. DAX now with this coming up above that 75, so you have a potential double top in play. I'm using the conservative targets because pretty much your bottom line nearly lines up with the move that started it from the candle open. So 13,550, 13,454, 13,406, 13,358. The notes try to get the little bounce off the 50. So this is a pretty key area. If we do drop below today's low, there's still plenty of support coming right in at 1829. There's cycles are getting to the bottom on the daily and still rolling over on the weekly. So I'm still watching for some choppy price action, and there's no real great buy signal here, other than if we start dropping below this about 119.04 area that would break the trend line into 37.5. I'd watch for something closer back to 50% pullback before a resumptive move. Crude inside bar, I believe. Let me just double check. Yeah, no, it's not. Nope, no inside bar on that. This was slightly higher. Still, even on a rally, watching this 91.60 to about 92 as first level resistance. If we get above there, 93.51 with cycles at the bottom, I'm going to watch for some continued follow through upside before another rollover play, especially with daily and weekly cycles. If we do get a bigger move, especially breaking above 93.51, it would be 96.21. Then I'd really start watching for a rollover play. But only it would just be scalpy to the upside at this point. And no, this is not a double. This is actually a triple at this point. So you can't trade that as a double. The only trade for me is if it was a short-term move, it's very aggressive above 1960. Finally, we got some moving going on with gold, and it looked like that little silver, especially with the Reddit players on silver, trying to do a silver squeeze. Gold still watching for that breakout above 1809. And this now is a triple top on there. I'm going to watch to see if we get some kind of head and shoulders top on there. And silver, though, silver a little breakout here. So from that flag pattern, again, all the Reddit players were stressing silver with a pullback to a rotation zone and also an aggressive buy. My next target, especially for stop raise, is 2107. I'll take a look at questions in a second. Dollar index, nothing doing. Inside day there, still caught in consolidation. VIX, we filled that gap and then slight bounce back, but I'm only going to get interested in more so of a pullback if we start getting above 22. So that's the level I'm watching there. Bitcoin still holding up, even with the NASDAQ reversal, holding up pretty well. So still the target is at 25. And the key level now is about 22.6 still. Tesla, double is still in play. So rejected from the 200, could not get the gap fill going. Double is still in play. So nothing's really changed above there. Unless you start really getting above about 913.50, then it could be the gap fill play, and that would invalidate the double at that point. Let's see. I agree. The CPI, I think the year over year could surprise to the upside still, but the month over month will be better than expected. That's my take. That's what I think is going to happen. So how do you trade that? Don't know how the market's going to react. Do I think SIGA can run? I know nothing. Do I think SIGA can run? I think it's got a little overbought, and it's definitely been run to the upside. I wouldn't be chasing it higher at this point at all. This is not one I trade. I'd be watching with daily cycles getting that top area. I'd be starting to watch for consolidation, and especially if it starts breaking back below 22, I'd watch for a pretty substantial pullback. Again, this would not be the area I'd chase this higher. Yeah, you got 22 right there with the 12% harmonic and this key support. You start breaking below that. My next level is until 1968 and then 1744. So I wouldn't be looking at anything, especially with a divergence, a major RSI divergence. Would not be chasing this one at all higher. Hey, Dan Jet. The yield coach says it all. Might as well put on a short and kick your legs up for 6 months. That's the challenge. I mean, I actually like this rally because it gives a lot of great levels to put up shorts on at better prices. I mean, I'd love the rally back to these 200s. That would absolutely be fabulous for setting up new short positions. And then just, then it's the turnaround. I mean, we have yet to reverse this yield curve, and as George said, he was researching the stuff with the yield curve. And once the yield curve starts running back towards zero, and then especially gets above zero and starts getting to 150 basis points at a minimum, you generally see the market start taking a huge hit. And again, I'm going to tell you, if you want to know more about that, tune into the podcast that just dropped this morning. Yeah, NVIDIA. And what's so funny is we'll get through this and then we'll see the next downturn in semis. Remember, we haven't got to the final target yet. We just have the first target hit, second target hit. We're going to get another rollover play. Once this thing's all over, we're going to be back with the SMH probably to 180. But you can't fight this uptrend right now. What's funny is even the SMH has just pretty much had an orderly pullback so far into the rotation zone. Can it still pull back farther? Yeah, you got some key support, 232 into the rotation zone, which would knock the daily cycles out. And you can see one more rotation back up easily. I'll get more interested if we start closing below the daily rotation zone, especially down to the short side if we start getting back below about 222. Somebody on Twitter crying over Tesla not being over 2,000, complaining why is it going down? I don't even want to talk about Tesla, Again, I was hearing, the stuff. Oh, they're going to split and then it's going to 2,000. So you're going to split 3 for 1, which, that takes it, let's even just call it 9. Let's say it's 900 at the split price. That takes it to 300 and then it's going up, what? 7-fold by the end of the year, which would make it like literally, and it's the same friggin' Elon, but they're gonna do what 100 million cars in the next 10 years. They're gonna be twice as big as Toyota. They'd have to be opening plants every 6 months, literally, and selling every car they produced, and then some. And it's like, all right, there's literally you can't do it because there's not that much lithium. So there's a little logistical problem with that statement because they don't produce any other cars except electric. It's just all ludicrous. We're still in ludicrous. It's like TomTom stuff. So he's playing to the upside, which is fine. You know what? He's the Optimus bull. But what was his thing this morning? I'm going to put on 1,500 strike price calls. That doesn't even make logical trading sense, even if you're bullish on this. Buying a 1,500 call strike price isn't even logical because the amount it has to rally before that even starts getting gamma and delta kicking in is absurd. You're throwing away a hell of a lot of money, or you're actually not positioning it very well. And if that's the way you're playing it to the upside, you're not a very smart trader. Because if you really think this is going to take off to the upside, I mean, that's just a lottery ticket. You hope that you can eke out like a little profit on. Why, if you're bullish on it, why wouldn't you play something closer to at the money? Or, if you're really bullish, play it, play, you can play some lottery tickets a little out of the money, but I wouldn't be playing 1500s. That's absurd. That's the whole thing. It's just absurd. Isn't that a double top on the NASDAQ 4-hour view? I was actually going to wait until we got through the overnight price action. Yeah, with the conservative, yeah, I think it works with both targets. But no, actually, I like those better. The more aggressive targets, a little better. Yeah, because I was going to wait to see for tomorrow morning, because if this rotates back up, it would be a triple. But and I'm not going to play this with overnight with a CPI, because I'd need at least a 4-hour close below this. I'd rather see the close or the trigger in the US day session, but yes, that is valid. Waka waka. I'm just looking if I missed anything else. No, nothing else right there. That's the only one that has the big reversal. Novax will print me money tomorrow. What's Novax doing? I saw. Didn't they reduce guidance major? Or they had earnings, right? Yeah, they had a big miss. That thing should. Oh boy. Wow. Well, that's going to retest the lows and then some. That's going to. Yeah, if you're short, that's going to print you some money. Hey, Mike, do you think the move on uranium is short-term topping? Out more to go? Yeah, I play it more so for a short-term top and then the pullback potentially with this move. It finally filled this gap left behind. You still have another gap, but this is looking to more like a short-term little divergence top in here. So I'd be watching for a pullback. If you're trading around a core position, I'd be watching for more of a pullback here in uranium. Just double checking something. Especially with the weekly cycles getting to the top. I didn't look at the weekly cycles today. Daily's got a little more upside, but weekly could be rolling over. So if it doesn't top today, we could be setting up for a top within the next couple days. So I'd watch for that and then a rollover for a potential re-entry buy. In uranium. Overall, yeah, well, I agree with Waka Waka. Uranium, this is why it's great to trade around a core position. I mean, I'm super bullish. Unless we get, I'll have to ease up if we get that close back below about 16.19, which is where we've been holding up. Again, where am I super bullish for? Once we start relighting a bunch of nuclear power plants and the greenheads realize you can't run the world off of solar and wind, and you're going to have to give some concessions to nuclear power, and nuclear power isn't that bad a burning fuel for the amount of energy it provides, especially if you don't want coal and oil. Yeah, this uranium can really run. So that's why it's great to trade and keep lowering a cost basis. So when it does take off, you have a well-built position. So I completely agree. I mean, and this is, well, you're waiting. This is another one I've talked about this. I don't talk about it very often because it's just rather boring to trade this around a core position. But you start watching for key pullbacks, and then you take some profits. I mean, that's why Ted's like, is this a potential short-term chop? Yeah, you get a rollover play, you take something off the table and look to re-add something again lower. And you don't just, and you keep building and you keep trading around it so you get a really good cost basis. And then once you get the explosive moves, you ride them a little longer. But even on this move back in May, you see we got the reversal back down. Then it turned into a triple bottom. Then finally you breakout play, a little move to the upside, but I'd be taking some. If you added down here, there were a couple good add places. There were a couple good add places down here in the $19 area. Can we look at Palantir? They reported earnings today. I thought they would have a bigger gap down. Well, they also... And they cut guidance. That's what's really killing them. They beat on revenue, missed on earnings. Do you know what? If we get a pullback in the CPI and you hold this channel, I bet you this thing gets another squeeze attempt to the upside. I'd wait for cycles to get to the bottom if you are trying to play it from the long side. From the short side, I can't get super bearish. Even if you break below the channel, you have pretty major support at 9. I can't get super bearish until at least we get a bigger rollover play in the markets, or Palantir gets below about 840 again on a closing basis. Then I can get super bearish. Other than that, with the nature of these markets right now, it would just be, I'm watching for the pullback play and see if it holds these key levels and they try to squeeze it up again. Because too many people will try to pile in this short too quickly. And unless we relinquish the go-go markets, then it's a good short. But not just yet, in my book. You can always watch for the gap fill play eventually also in this to see if it can get that squeeze going. And remember, you're going to want to keep updating that with pullbacks. But here's, initially, your key area you're watching is between this 50 and 62.5, and then the close above the 62.5. And I'm not saying this tomorrow. And by the way, yes, that is, before somebody asks, that is, if we did get a squeeze thing tomorrow going on, that's a potential double bottom. But I would be trying to front run that, not in your life. That would be getting a trade above this high of 1040. I've invested in many URA stocks. Well, I wouldn't call URA a stonk. I just have to put that in a stock category. It's definitely not a stonk. Yeah, I think URA is gonna be at some point a really fantastic long-term play. People don't get market cap on any of these other stuff too. I've asked people, and they don't. What's a market cap? What does that mean? What does it matter? Well, that's why we still have a long way to go before we flush out this. Looks like they're squeezing UPST. We're still in this again. Until this gets done, it'll probably start getting done once the kids go back to college. I've been called by the kids in the neighborhood. I'm some boomer that doesn't understand anything about this because I don't get why AMC and GME should quadruple from here. And I'm an idiot for thinking that the new ape shares are actually dilutive to the stock. But we don't need to get into that. And this is just absurd. This is the market we're in. So, this is as long as we keep seeing this, I want to take a look at this after hours trading. Yeah, look, I mean, look at this. After a miss and guidance lower, and those are horrible results. And look, boom. So trading as low as 25, what? 25.33, and then up to 34. You know, and at least they have a P to E ratio. I mean, that's the only good thing they got going for them. But with that guidance, it's still just, it's going to be we're still in buy the crap mode. Well, he's got a window to just sell through. I think it's tomorrow before the window closes. Waka Waka. Then he can't sell. I think it's tomorrow. But like before you enter a trade, you always wait for a closing bar below a certain level and a retest below taking a trade. Except for high momentum periods, yes. I can't say always. I'd have to say 90 something percent of the time. And it could be a closing on a shorter term basis, but I like the closes. Why? And I think more people should focus on the closes, especially at the beginning of their career. Yes, you're going to miss moves, but you're also going to get in higher probability moves. And I think one of the things people have to get out of their mind is worrying about missing a move. There's always another move. Why is URA dangerous? I think a hell of a lot more stocks are dangerous than URA. URA trades pretty well. It's just back and forth trading. I actually think if you're still talking about URA, I think it's even a better play than 10 plus years. I think that's going to kick in within the next couple years. Yeah, good. Way to educate people, Waka Waka, on uranium. I see an inverse head and shoulders on HD. Still had my double targets back up there. An inverse. Let me remove this. Hold on. I don't need that alert anymore. I just want to check that out on the daily. It's a little sloppy on the one shoulder, but because of that, I'd be waiting for a weekly close trigger on this, though. I would not trade this off a daily close trigger because of the sloppiness on the daily on this side shoulder. This side shoulder is really nice. And it's got, I hate those double heads. You could trade this on, I'd recommend this is where I'd want the weekly close above the neckline. And that neckline is 309.27. You want to play it a little more cautiously, wait for the close above the 50. But let's map it out. Especially in this market with cycles at the top also on your weekly basis, would not be chasing this without that weekly close. And it's a flat neckline, and here's where it's broken, so you can just do the double click there. You don't have to try to extend it from over here. It's going to be the same point. 334.13, 345.74, 357.34. But again, wait for a weekly close. Especially with weekly cycles at the top and daily cycles getting to the top, definitely wait for a weekly close. The weekly close, because this is a weekly pattern. Because of this shoulder, you need to trade it on a weekly basis. Hey, Vin, thank you for being here. mRNA. know if I have anything there. It finished the double pattern. Off its daily 200. Coming up to this major key support area. Let me just update this for my longer term charts. Let me see if I have anything. Daily cycles at the top and tipping over, you're into a rotation zone. I'd be watching for, if you're in the bullish camp, you're going to be wanting to watch for pullbacks and then a rotation back up. You're going to want to watch for pullbacks between 176.25 and 170. With cycles at the top, I'd be watching. If this doesn't hold, I take hands off until you get back down to 156. And your key line, the sand, I'm actually not very bullish on this long term. But if you're going to watch, if it breaks below this 190 or 170 area, I'd be watching. My next key area would be about 156.60 to 1. You have a gap still down here too. You have your 50, so I'd be watching between about 160 and 156.50 for another bottoming pattern. And it'd actually be better if it pulled back there from the bullish camp, because then you could keep a really tight stop on a closing basis with 146.30. But with cycles at the top, coming off this 200, I'd need a reversal pattern if I was going to be more aggressive, at least in this area. So I would not be chasing it yet until we get a little more pullback, especially with earnings out of the way. Because you got the earning move, now you're getting the pullback move. Just buying lotto tickets. There you go. Options is buying the lotto tickets on the go-go stocks, which is definitely tradable right now until that dries up again. Let's see. Is there anything else I need to get to? You go stick with Tom Coco. HD earnings soon. What was the date on that HD earnings? That's in 16th of August, so that's next week. So yeah, once the earnings are out, if that triggered after earnings, then that's a really nice play, potentially. Well, let me look at something else here. Back to Home Depot. Ooh, look at that. Right at that 37.5, the double harmonic there. So given earnings next week, guess you can stay bullish, so as long as you don't get a close back below 283.74. Again, a lot of these things I would rather play post earnings at this point. And you got some divergences coming in. That's why I'd be watching for the rollback play in earnings. And then if that triggers, that inverse head and shoulders triggers after earnings, it would be a nice play. You guys still going on about, boy, I can't keep. No. As a market maker, I've ever seen an options market like Tesla? No. And specifically the timing, because the timing with bad news is impeccable with call options. It's almost like it's planned. But no, I've never seen anything like Tesla. Lily looks to be at the bottom of the channel as an aggressive buy. Let's take a look. Then I'm going to wrap it up pretty soon. Sorry, I'm not going to put up all the uranium comment. I think it's very valuable discussion everyone's having in the chat. I'm just not. I can't sit here and put up all the. Uh, that is this. No, it can't be. Whew. You do have a for the next couple days, you on a closing basis, you have an aggressive buy above the 5th of August high in Lilly. But keep in mind now, please keep this in mind. You're coming off a pretty significant triple divergence pattern. See these 3 pokes higher, 3 lower RSI. Your cycles are finally getting to the bottom of the daily. So this would be just a short-term bounce with the, weekly and daily cycles at the bottom. You do have a little gap fill here, but beyond that, I wouldn't be playing it for a huge longer-term move. I'd be playing it back. If you're one to play this the upside, it would only be a play from my perspective back into the daily rotation zone and a gap fill play. Okay, before a next potential rollover play. You got the dividend coming up also. Ex-dividend on the 12th of August. I would not be surprised over the next few weeks to easily see this test the 280 level again, which would be back between the 50 and the 62.5, would be near these lows back from the 22nd of April and the 200. So more so, my play for this would be a play to the upside, then a rollover play for a target back down to this 280 level if I had to choose a play in Lilly. George, pumping futures edge. I agree, George. Yeah, so that's how earnings were rough and based just off the chart pattern. You got the more the downside play, you got limited to the upside, more to the downside. You're welcome, Chris. Oh boy. Really? We got those. Just in time the love bot made it. Could somebody report those please for me? I really hate that crap. Thank you, Ted. Thank you for reporting them. All right, with that, again, be patient over the next day or so. If you have great setups, take them, but don't force anything going into, remember, it's not just a CPI Wednesday, although that will give us a great gauge of what the market's taking seriously and shrugging off. But we also have PPI and then consumer sentiment preliminary. Now, consumer sentiment on Friday, it's the preliminary numbers. I would not be surprised to see better than expected because people are gauging it off of gas prices. But I'll tell you, inflation's not done. I had to run out to Costco because to get some ground beef for the dogs. We make them fresh ground beef every day for their food on top of their 2-ingredient dog food. They eat very well, by the way. Don't worry about my dogs eating. They eat better than me. But I ran out, so I had to run out to Costco real quick at lunch to get some ground beef. It went up another 30 cents a pound just in the last week. So, food inflation especially is not subsiding yet. Yeah, we've got a pullback in gas, but you know what? But that's what people are good. That's what the sentiment is going to be, because more so people look at that the way they fill up their car, and so I could actually see a beat on sentiment. And even if we get it down into Wednesday, Thursday, we could see another rebound move. Remember, we're still in incredibly thin markets. We still have the depth of market is still absolutely pathetic. And I know it's August, but even for August, this is pathetic. You can get large orders just pushing this market around. And we don't have after this, we have some minor stuff coming out, but it's a lot of it's smooth sailing. We're going to have the final consumer sentiment numbers, but we got a lot of smooth sailing up to Jackson Hole in August. And there's no Fed meeting. You got Jackson Hole, though, but that's not till the end of the month. So it's going to be these next couple days, actually not tomorrow, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are going to be very telling of how things could unfold the rest of the month. So what I would say is, from my personal perspective, if you don't have something great to trade, this is more of a time to be patient, because we'll get more of a directional bias coming up towards the end of the week, and then there'll always be trades to put on. Don't be afraid of missing a trade. Yeah, luxury dogs. That's right. UK inflation is ripping, so no way it's over in the USA. It's not over here. But again, people are gauging it off of, it's why even the New York Fed survey, inflation's going to be better. Well, they're just looking at the little drop in gas prices. Food. I mean, I do the majority of the food shopping, and I can tell you that it's not over. It still has to peak. We're not even at the pause level yet in food. We're still it's still ratcheting up. Sticky inflation that takes 6 months to clear. Fed is scared and worried about sticky inflation. They made that clear. Yes, they did. And rents are still going up. I mean, our neighbors next door, they have I think she's around 27. And she just moved back home. She had an apartment. She's got a good job. She actually moved back home because they have like another, I call it a granny unit suite in their house where her grandmother used to live, who moved out. But she's moved into that because the rent, I think it went from $1,700 to $2,100. They wanted to jack her rent, and she's like, I don't want to keep living here, so I'm moving home temporarily. Until I know where I want to find another place, but I'm not paying an additional $400 $400 a month for a place I don't want to live in. Rents are still going. Rents aren't abating anytime soon. Yeah, BBY is another one that's still going. Is it tonight? Another short squeeze. It's bouncing again. See, these will be great. Again, I actually will love these because, like, anything's changed in BBI's business over the last 2 days, but it's up what percentage? I mean, BBI is gonna. I mean, from that to the high was what? I mean, that's absurd. 105% and nothing's changed with their business, and it's a triple from the lows to those highs. It's just absurd. Yeah, the short float. Yeah, BBY is a low float, and it's another just short squeeze. But we've got the short squeezies going on, the squeezy squeezies. All right, I'm gonna call it a day now. I'll be back tomorrow morning. Hopefully, we'll get some fine-tuned price action for tomorrow. But again, it's really focused on Wednesday before the open. Again. Even though you're super bullish, Coco, you're forgiven. Thanks for pushing that short float. And again, I'm in short-term bull mode. Even on a pullback, I'm in short-term bull mode. Until we really break some key levels, then I'll go to massive bear mode again. With that, I will talk to everyone later. Roku is the same setup. Yep, can't wait to short it. Again, there'll be some great shorts. It's just got to sit on your hands and wait for the go-go juice to leave. Okay, think of you all in the sun. I'm not in the sun. It was rainy here today. It was horribly rainy. And then we'll get into the fall, and then it will be colder and gray. Yeah, thanks, Ted. You are welcome. Talk to everyone later. Bye for now.